And we are on the record. So we are going to be talking about the Gates of Heaven annual budget line item descriptions. Jeff Luria had brought to our attention that not everybody knows what each line item is, and so within the next few minutes you will have exhaustive knowledge of what is in every single line item. So I'm going to cover the income side of things. Ron is going to cover the expenditure side of things, and when he runs out of breath, I'm going to jump in and rescue him because there's a lot of expenditures. But let's start with income. So basically, our income falls into a few different buckets. One is financial commitment, one is youth program revenue, one is pulpit, ritual, and music, one is building and maintenance, there is other income, and there are endowment fund distributions. The financial commitment part of it is fairly self-explanatory. The member commitment line is our dues. The Guardian Circle is the annual commitment above regular dues that people make to help offset members who are paying reduced dues. That's approximately 40% of our congregation. Non-resident supporters are out-of-town folks who love us and want to affiliate with us and are happy to pay for the privilege. On the youth program revenue side, we have Hebrew school, religious school, and Kollel fees. That's basically tuition. We have some grant income that we draw down from Federation that helps us to accommodate students who have special needs. And we have GOTY membership, which is the fee that folks pay to be a member in the Gates of Heaven Temple Youth. On the pulpit, ritual, and music side, we have the memorial book. That's basically the High Holiday Book of Memory. On the building and maintenance side, and remember, this is just the income side of things, the Niskayuna Co-op Nursery School has a contract with us, and they pay us rent to use our space. We also derive income from use of our space by non-members. That is the building room rentals line. Under other income, we have the High Holiday Appeal for both members and non-members. Again, that's fairly self-explanatory. We take some income in from the sale of memorial plaques, plaques that go in the library, plaques on the back of pews, Tree of Life leaves. All of those things are sources of income for us. We also derive some money from the Grinspoon Foundation through the Life and Legacy program. That's incentive money that comes through Life and Legacy when we reach certain benchmarks. X number of letters of intent signed, that sort of thing. We derive money from the food festival, from the gala, from Stefano Sings Again. That net income is gathered in year A and it's spent in year B. We have Jewish vibrancy income, which are donations that are made but not specifically earmarked to other funds. We have had in the past a special gift that would support an adjunct rabbi. Under endowment fund distributions, we do take a fee, a management fee, which is 1% of the total endowment funds at the start of the fiscal year. We take interest and principal from the unrestricted funds. Per the endowment committee, historically it's been 5% of interest on unrestricted funds. They've actually reduced that to 4.75%, just to sort of accommodate the current market situation. Principal from our unrestricted funds is basically the money that we use if we don't have the income to meet our expenses. Under temporarily restricted funds, we can also draw interest from those funds. Under certain very specific conditions, per the fund documents, we can take principal from temporarily restricted funds. And at a glorious point in the future, our Life and Legacy gifts will be distributed to us, and we will be able to take interest and dividends. These are permanently restricted funds. Those are the sources of income that keep this place running. Before we,
Laura, just
yeah,
one question.
sure.
How is management fee an income source? I don't understand.
We take 1% of the total endowment funds as our management fee. Because we are managing, I don't even know how many funds it is, we are able to draw a 1% sweep from all of those.
So that's in addition
I mean,
to.
it's our money, so.
What it is, and we've been doing this for about 20 years now. It's a fee that the temple charges to each of the endowment fund for their management of that particular fund. So that's why it becomes an income source Because it comes out of the endowment and it goes into the income side.
So it's a way of taking money out of the endowment that doesn't count.
Well, it counts unless you don't feel it's appropriate, that.
Well, I mean, it avoids
Temple has-
restrictions, is all I'm saying.
Yes.
The answer is a yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Good enough.
It's like taking a bit more than the 5%.
And,
for the
and
4%.
this, they tell me, is standard practice for not-for-profits.
I'm not decrying it, I'm just understanding it.
Sure.
We actually have one fund that we don't take from because it prohibits it.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Ron to do the expenditures.
Were there any
Okay.
other questions, though, on the income? Because the whole idea is to make sure everybody is comfortable reading the spreadsheet. So are there any other income questions?
Okay. Because I am being recorded, I want to make sure people understand. That's my name right there, Ron Wackenheim. Now I'm going to talk about not the money coming in, but the money going out the door or out the window, our expenses. We have, again, same as we did with the income, we group into the main categories. We have pulpit and ritual expenses, general service and administrative expenses, building and maintenance expenses, youth program expenses, and we have programs, meals, community, and then we have the board expenses. Those are the main categories. Now I'm going to go through all each individual line items that you see whenever we give you the budgets every single month. Some of them, like again on the income side, it's self-explanatory, but I'm still going to go through it anyway. The first one on the pulpit and ritual expenses is the rabbi and the adjunct rabbi. That's just what it is. We pay for the rabbi's salaries, the benefits, the taxes that we have to include, including any parsonage, which would be housing allowance. The next one up is the rabbi contractual expenses. These are things that are allowed as part of the contract that we have for having the rabbi here with us. Things like for a car, convention, sabbatical year, any book allocations, and any dues that we have to pay for him being a rabbi. Next one down is the Shabbat holiday worship. That's just like what it says there. It's the music for all the Shabbat services, all the Friday night services we do, and especially for the high holidays, which would be, it's the very next one down. It all goes together, which is Shabbat holiday worship, high holiday worship. It's the same thing. The music for all of the services, for all those services, whether it's the high holidays or not. High holiday babysitting. That's just what it says there. It's for babysitting the adults that come here. I mean, for the babysitting the babies that we have here. The ritual expenses. That's for any miscellaneous expenses that might come up as part of all of our holiday rituals we do here, whether it be for the wine, the challah, candles, name tags that we have, pamphlets, the weekly pamphlets we do for each of the Friday night services, and so on.
Ron, excuse me, Jeffrey, does that include ONEG?
I'm sorry, I can hear you.
Does that include ONEG?
You know, it's interesting. I know
Yeah,
there
I
there
think that
is
would be all part of it,
there's
yes.
a specific ONEG budget line. I have to look, Jeff. I'm not positive.
All right.
Right.
I know that's a very timely question.
The next one up is cantorial student. That means just that. It's Stefano. It's for his salary and the meals, his travel. As you know, he goes back and forth between here and where he lives in New York. And now this is only for, as it relates to what he does here on Shabbat services. We have a separate space in the expenses for his work that he does in Sunday school. We will get to that in a little bit. The last one is for the mikvah. It's our annual fee that we have to pay for the use of the community mikvah. That takes care of that main category. The next one down is general services and administrative expenses. First one up is the administrative staff, all the people who work here in our temple and keep up the place for us. And that doesn't just include Laura being, you know, part of the administrative staff. It's all the people who work in the office with her. Whether it be Kathy Laws, Michelle Warren, yep, and Kathy, Sharon Lotano, and Kathy Laws, and Michelle Warren. And I'm not sure if we have any others who work in the office at any time, part-time or not, but those are the main ones that I know of. And it's mostly for, you know, for doing the bookkeeping work, rabbi's assistant, membership assistant. That's a lot of what the work they do here for our temple. Next one down is really for Laura, for the Executive Directors Conference. We send her to that. think that stands for the North American
Te-
Temple Administrative Conference. And for any other conference travel she thinks she wants to go to, but maybe, maybe not, we will pay for that.
Oh, you'll pay.
Not if I have anything to say about that.
Up to $1,600.
Next one up is, obviously, it's a fairly new one, it's a Life and Legacy. Any expenses that are related to trying to get the word out for that program, especially for advertising, administering the program, and implementing the program. And then we have administrative supplies. Unfortunately, we can't let the office work without paper, pen, inks, staplers, binders. We can try, but that will never work. So we have to have administrative supplies. Now you can turn this over to the other side, this gigantic thing we gave you. Continuing on to the credit card bank fees, that's just what we have to pay for the use of our credit cards. Nowadays, they like to call it administrative fee for the use of the credit card. If we're gonna keep using the credit card here for our fees, we gotta keep that there. If we wanna cut the credit cards, then that will go away, and I don't think that's gonna happen. Postage means just that. Actual postage for any mailings that we have to do here through using the postage machine that we have here. Payroll services, that's for our Paylocity, is the name of the company that we use for handling our payroll, for any work that's involved in taking care of the payroll. Next up is the office equipment contracts. That's all the services, support, and maintenance contracts we have for all of the equipment we have in our office. That'd be like the copy machine, the postage machine, the computers that we have here, like our antivirus software equipment that we have now, and any security, some new security things that we're implementing here, and computer backup. Next up, telephone means just that. We actually still have landline here, so we still pay for that. If we ever cut the landline phone, maybe that will go down. I don't think that's gonna happen either.
We have glorious new phones, Ron.
Oh,
Glorious.
okay. The next up is the auditor. That's the person we have to pay to take care of auditing our books, because almost any organization, you have to have someone who's an auditor from the outside of the temple. Can't have somebody who's on the inside, so we have an auditor who does that for each and every year. Insurance, again, it's another self-explanatory. We have to insure the temple, insure the members who come here, take care of business auto, our hardware, software, all the fine art stuff we have in this building, and the professional sexual misconduct, which is part of that new sexual harassment policy that Laura mentioned earlier, and all the normal insurance that you have to have when it comes to maintaining a place like this. The bulletin, we keep that in there in case there's ever any expenses that are involved in production of it. But as you probably know, we now have someone who does the printing for free for us, and they get all the advertising revenue, so we don't have to pay anything anymore. It's pretty much on the house now. But we keep it there in case any unexpected additional expenses come into play. Advertising means just that. We gotta advertise ourselves here. We gotta advertise the high holidays, and advertise the temple, things that we can offer here to the community. The staff training, that's just that. Anytime we need to train the staff, like for instance, once in a while, we will train people who recruit and become board members, or if we actually have to train the temple staff on anything new, like it's possible we may eventually have to do training on sexual harassment. You never know, because I know where I work for the state, we actually have to do that now. So we have that there as an expense for any training we have to do for our staff. The last one under this category is the URJ dues. That's the negotiated dues that we pay to our parent organization. It's not a set amount every year. We try to negotiate it as low as we possibly can. There's always a lot of haggling involved in that, but Mindy has been doing a great job in getting that down as much as we can the last couple of years. I don't know if it's
Peter
gonna be as
Thompson,
good this year,
not
but
me.
we've been doing our best with that. Next category down is building and maintenance. That means just that. The roof that we have over our head and everything around us here. The maintenance staff, we have to pay the people who help maintain this building here. It's mostly Matt and a couple of other people who work part-time with him. We do have to pay for them to help keep up this building, because we're not here every day to keep this place up. Repairs, maintenance, and supplies, that's just what that is. You never know, this building's not always gonna be perfectly standing up. Something's always gonna have to be fixed. Just like your own house, there's always gonna be something to be fixed. So we gotta account for that. Temple security, it's just with that, when we need to have the Niskiuna police or even maybe the Schenectady police, you never know, for like the high holidays or even some of the non-high holidays, like the food festival, or like if we do any other large size events, we have to have security here, because we don't want to depend on the Temple to self-police ourselves. Capital equipment purchases, that would be like if we have to buy any, what we call fixed assets. Like last year, we had to buy a lawnmower. That's considered capital equipment. Or if we ever maybe eventually have to buy a snow blower. I don't know who wants to snow blow this parking lot here, but if we ever need to get a snow blower, we have to account for that. Utilities is just that. You gotta pay for the gas, the water, sewer, electricity, and the parking lot lights for this place here. If we didn't wanna have any of that, we can have National Grid turn off everything and we sit in the dark all the time here. And be in the cold all the time. That takes care of the building. Next category down is the youth program.
Can I just ask, both the temple security and in the section above advertising, both of them say non-high holy day advertising and non-high holy day security.
Right,
They
so-
aren't included, I don't see them listed.
They're part of the high holy day expenses, and I may need to enumerate that out,
Okay.
but high holiday security and high holiday advertising go in their own high holiday budget line.
That would be under pulpit and ritual expenses?
Yeah.
Mhm. That's right. Okay, moving right into the youth program, the things we do for all the kids who come through our temple here. Starting off with the school staff, we gotta pay those Sunday school teachers. If we don't pay them, there's nothing to educate the kids with. And it's also part of Arnie Rotenberg's group there, we have pay for his work here, and for all the staff, people who help work, everything that he does here for us. The music teacher expenses, that's the part that I was telling you about with Stefano, how we said we have the Cantorio student expense line. That's for his work on the Friday nights. The music teacher expenses, that's for his work when he's here on Sunday school. So that's why we have it, because it's two different responsibilities, we have it in two different places. Substitute teachers, that's a line there just in case if we ever have any Sunday school teachers that can't come in for whatever reason, they're out sick, they're out of town. Fortunately, that's not something we've needed a whole lot of, but we do have to keep that there. You never know. It's just like a regular school. You never know if a regular school teacher's gonna be out sick. I gotta have a substitute come in and teach the kids for the day. Staff development, that's similar to the staff development that I mentioned up before, only this is for any necessary consultants we might need to bring in for any training for our staff and the like. Special development, just like it says there. And then like we have a kind of contractual expenses for the rabbi, we also have contractual expenses for our educator, Arnie, which would be mostly for his dues for being in the American Religious Jewish Educators dues, and any conferences he might decide to attend if we let him. Same thing like I said with Laura, if we let her.
Yeah, it's the Association for Reformed Jewish Educators.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Sorry about that. The next two categories are sort of can go together, but we keep them separated for now. Is for the religious and Hebrew schools, books and supplies, for all the books that we need for the schools each and every year. That can change every year depending on the curriculum that we're going to provide for religious school and or Hebrew school. And then the second one down is for any activities that may occur during religious school or high holidays, Hebrew school I should say, sorry. Like if there's any field trips that might occur, or like sometimes a New York City trip, or sometimes when we go to one of the other temples in the area. We have to account for that there. Madrakim, sorry,
Madrihim.
I'm good at spelling but terrible at pronouncing. That's the program we have for the high school students to be in the classrooms here. We have them here as helpers for the Sunday school program. The next one down is the donation to Beth Shalom. That's the fee we pay for the use of their facility for any educational purposes. And if I remember correctly, that if we have any students that have any special needs, that expense shows up there.
No, these are children in Clifton Park.
Clifton Park, okay.
To go
Okay.
to school on site there instead of here.
Got it, okay, thank you. The bar mitzvah expenses, that usually nets out, because if you ever notice in the budget when you, or the treasury reports, there's almost nothing ever shows up there, because income and expenses always wash each other out, but it's there in case anything ever does come up on the expense side that shows up. So it's for tutoring fees, for payroll for any tutors that we have. Next one down is the confirmation, anything related to the confirmation classes, the dinner we might provide, any gifts we may give them. And then the next three down where it just says, so it's Kaleo, that can go up and down every year depending on how many students actually come through the Kaleo program. We have the staff to help with that program, the supplies that we need for each of them, it's once every week. And then, of course, we have to provide dinner for them because they're here between 6 to 8 p.m. And some of them are just, especially the staff, they're just coming straight from work right here, so we gotta feed them. And the kids, they're always hungry, so we gotta have something for them. And the next one is, I'll say it the English way, Eltaken. But I can't pronounce it in Hebrew.
L'Teken.
That's the
So-
10% proportion of the cost for the program that actually just completed in Washington DC, and from what I heard, I think they had a great time, right, Arnie? They had an awesome time down there. I'm glad to hear that. And then the next one down is the special youth program, which would be Camp Eisner, and we actually gonna have one again this spring, so we have to account for expenses for that.
Ron, it's for also, it's for all youth programs, it's not just specific to the, to the spring conclave.
In spring, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not just, it's for all youth programs, that particular one, not just the spring conclave.
Right, okay. Now, the next three lines you see below that is for GOTY, that's the Gates of Heaven Temple Youth Program. One is for the high school age, and the other one says GOTY Kids, that's for the ones who are not yet high school program. Again, we have to provide for staff, for the programming that they actually carry sometimes it's every month or every other month. And the last one is if we decide to host a conclave event, we account for having to pay for that. I don't think we've actually done one for some time now.
4 years.
Yeah, okay, that's right, it's been a while. Next one down is for all the programs, meals, and community that we do. It's for adult education, all the different adult programs that we have throughout the year here. That's the honorary for any guest speakers we bring in. The next line down is specifically for the adult education staff, the people who we pay to do the adult education, like for the 9 mitzvah, for the adults who want to have a bar mitzvah. And then for any other adult education staff that we bring in to carry out the programs. The next few are all the various committees that we have as part of, the board, as you're probably all aware, but I'll run them down. We have the Social Action Committee, Mitzvah Day, Historical Committee, Israel Committee, Parents Council, Membership Committee, and the First Wind Committee, which is our brand new one. So we allot, a decent amount of expenses for them if they need it. Sometimes they don't use it at all for the year, but it is there if they need it for anything they do during the year. The next one down is the video streaming. That's self-explanatory, it's just what it is. For people who don't want to be in the sanctuary, or they want to sit here in the Hatkoff room, or in one of the rooms over there, especially for the high holidays, because we always have an overflow.
No, this
And we
this
still want them
video
to be able to
streaming is
see-
the live streaming that you see on the website. So
Or
if
even
somebody
see it on the
doesn't come to
website.
synagogue, they can watch from home.
And they can watch from home, right? So, that's something that, it's a great asset for people who can't physically be here
Hold on a
for
second,
some
we have a
reason.
question down there from Jeffrey.
Yeah,
No,
Ron,
type.
I don't see ritual committee here. Is that because we get no money or because it was just left off?
Ritual committee is actually built into the ritual expenses of the congregation in the earlier line items. So the ritual committee itself does not have a line item that says ritual committee, they do ritual of the temple.
And second wind,
Second
Is
Wind
Chalk
doesn't get,
River-
no, their Second Wind doesn't get funding, they self-fund all their own events. Sheila?
The senior moments, does that fit in here?
It's education.
Senior Moments actually falls under community meals.
And
But
for
is
anybody
it
who's
listed?
really up at a parent council, if you compare it to the budget, parent council isn't getting money because it no longer exists, where First Wind is getting money but didn't before because it's new. Okay.
Now, the next one, we could probably pretty much group it all together. It's the community meals, all the different meals we provide, potluck, the holiday dinners, Passover, senior moments, and the lunch and learn. A lot of times, they pretty much net out, just like it says right here in the what is it, after fees and donations, the net cost. So that's what happens with this. Last but not least is the board expenses. Unfortunately, we don't spend a whole lot of money on this board, which is always a good thing. We don't go crazy with it. The first line is the president's discretionary. That's the free money for President Mindy.
Yeah.
If she wants it, if she doesn't want it, we take it back.
That's the money that I used for take the staff out to lunch, which we just did this week.
And also pay for scholarship for biennial and other those years.
I didn't do that, but yeah, and I
So-
wasn't in there for that. I didn't have the opportunity to do that.
As long as it's not a five-star lunch like at 677 Prime or anything like that, we can't do that.
We didn't do that.
We did not do that.
Okay.
Actually, biennial conferences, that's, yeah.
No, but the president's line,
Oh,
discretionary
scholarship.
fund can be,
I didn't
can
pay
be
for
used
that.
for that.
It's not what I used it for.
So the last three are biennials and conferences, which are basically the fees and the travel and the lodging and the food and everything that a board member would need to participate at biennial. We have a small line item for board development, should we decide to develop ourselves as a board. And finally, we have board meals. I didn't list the $100 expense that we have, but I will say 2 years ago, the board spent a whopping $19 on food. So it is a nominal amount, but it is an important line item nonetheless.
So thank the board for doing a good job with keeping our board meals so low that we can use that money somewhere else maybe.
So does anyone have any questions either for Ron or for me? Jonathan?
There's a line item for the expense of Life and Legacy program, but I didn't see one for income.
Yeah, it's there. It's the $7,500 that we earned as our bonus money from Federation for achieving 25 gifts. And then the $1,500 that we said we should hold back for expenses. So the net is that the congregation will get $5,000 next year for Life and Legacy.
So it's listed under other income, under fundraising revenues, Grinspoon Foundation, Life and Legacy.
Okay, thank you.
Jeffrey?
No, that's the incentive.
This is a very serious question, so I want everybody to pay attention. Is Skohani considered out of town?
No.
No. Next.
We have actually a geographic description. I think it's more than 50 or 60 miles away.
Okay. Nice try, though. Steve, did you have a question?
No, I just wasn't sure if the question before was about the incentive or the future income we would draw, which
Sure.
is in a separate place under endowment fund distribution. I just wasn't sure.
Okay.
So when we get a distribution from Life and Legacy, we have to hold it for a year. Because we don't have that time yet, it's not yet a budget line, but
I
when it
understand.
becomes a budget
You're
line,
clarifying.
I just want to know whether you answered the question that was being asked or not, because there are two sources of
Jonathan?
income.
Right.
Incentives
Did we
and
answer
then-
your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all. 'Cause
then I will cease the rambling.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
Okay, good.
All right, you all have the patience of Job, thank you.
Thank you. So that